What most strongly predicts if a person's going to be a success on the job? Whatever it is, Motown had it in an enormous amount. They had Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson, The Miracles, Tammy Terrell, The Temptations, The Four Tops, Diana Ross, The Supremes, Michael Jackson, The Jackson 5, Gladys Knight and the Pips. The list goes on and on and on. So whatever it is, they did it extremely well. We're going to use as our case study the Supremes. So how well did the Supremes actually do? Initially, they were a disaster. They went for years without a hit. In fact, they were referred to around Motown as the no-hit Supremes, and they deserved it because they weren't getting any hits. No matter who they were paired up with in terms of writers or producers or anything, it wasn't working. However, Motown decided to stay with the Supremes and the Supremes with Motown because both sides were convinced that this was the path to success. And success arrived when the Supremes were paired with the writing team of Holland, Dozier, and Holland, whom you can see in this photo. And the Supremes went from a string of failures to their first number one, and they would eventually reach 12 number ones by the time the group split up in the early 1970s. That raises a really good question. Is 12 number ones for a girl group a good number? Well, if you look at this list, this is the list of most number ones, you will see that the Supremes are on the list, and more specifically, there are no other girl groups on this list. To put it bluntly, the Supremes have more number ones than any other girl group in history, and that record still stands more than 54 years later. Very few records and accomplishments are still the best in the world 54 years later. For the Supremes, this is true. The more amazing thing is that the Supremes hold other best in the world accomplishments that are still the best in the world 54 years later. Let's take a look at some of those accomplishments. You can see most consecutive number one singles, and the Supremes are clearly on this list. While there are others above them, there are no other girl groups above them, the Supremes are the most successful girl group with most consecutive number one singles at 5. And by the way, look at the company they keep. Also with 5 are Elvis, Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey, and Katy Perry. That's extremely impressive company to keep. That's where the Supremes are. This one looks at most consecutive years charting a number one single. As you can see, the Supremes had number ones in 6 consecutive years. No other girl group in sight, so the girl group with the most consecutive years charting number one single is also the Supremes. This one takes a look at the most number one singles in a calendar year, and you can see the Supremes are on here. No other girl group on the list anywhere. In fact, the only group that beat them is the Beatles. So in this category also, the Supremes are the best performing girl group of all time. If you look at this, the Supremes had the first number one album for a girl group. They also had the second number one album and the third number one album, and that result of having 3 number one albums by a girl group is still the world record. It has been equaled but not surpassed. If you look at this chart, the best-selling girl groups worldwide, unfortunately, Motown's records aren't as clean and tidy as we would like them to be, so we don't know where the Supremes fall in this range. They're somewhere in this range, but the precise value cannot be determined. Unfortunately, the uncertainty is very large, so we don't know where they are, but they are without a doubt one of the best-selling groups worldwide. So if you look at this in total for girl groups, the Supremes have all of these as the best in the world today. And they haven't had a hit single since the 70s. This is virtually unprecedented. It is amazing, and it's a result of an awful lot of hard work. Let's take a look at how this was accomplished. All of this raises an extremely obvious question. How is this accomplished? First things first, there are a lot of people involved, and we're going to meet a number of those in the rest of this video. One of the most important features is grit, which Angela Duckworth, who has recently done some amazing work, talks about persistence over time in pursuit of a clear goal. This is not something you can do in one weekend. It's not like something you can just pick up and buy at the store and ta-da, you're done. It takes focus, discipline, practice, and not giving up. The Supremes demonstrated that. When they were still in high school, they would show up at Motown, Hitsville, and offer to sing or clap or do backup or whatever, and were told no over and over and over again. Finally, we were told, come back after you graduate from high school. They still did, were still rejected until one day someone said, you know what, our regular singers didn't show up, come on in, let's see what you got. They did a very impressive job because they were very well prepared. The Supremes had already won singing competitions and stuff like that in the Detroit area, so when it came time to show, they were ready. They were recognized for being an extremely good group, but needed a lot of polish and development. That's going to be secret number 2. Motown had its own internal school. While it is a record label, it's also as much a school, and they taught the people dancing, choreography, a lot of things like that. This is a photo of Maxine Powell, and let's listen to Martha Reeves describe what it was like to be a student in the class.
Rules and standards. We were not ever scantily dressed. We were always in uniform. We had someone who always traveled with us to make sure that we were on time and dressed properly. We were learning music theory. We were learning choreography from Charlie Atkins. And we were getting social graces being taught to us by Professor Maxine Powell. Ladies, you don't dance with your buttocks. You use your feet, and the body will follow.
In this photo, you can see the Supremes meeting the Queen Mother. So what Mrs. Powell said, that you will be meeting kings and queens, literally, literally, literally true. You can see it in this photo. You are worthy of this level of respect and dignity and class at the world's highest level. They have made it. So to start from the projects in Detroit to this level in just a couple of years, it's grit, it's training, it's persistence, it's coaching, it's guidance, and it can be done. They put to death, as far as I'm concerned, all the naysayers who said that they were lazy, couldn't do anything, didn't work hard. Obviously not true at all. And as this is showing, they were capable of performing at the highest level in the entire world.